Hello and welcome everybody to episode 62 of the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast. I'm your host, Spnanon. I'm here with my co-host, nmasp, and our returning guest, returning from a long hiatus in which we all patiently awaited his return because we love him. It's the man once mistaken for nmasp. It's WibblyWarble.
Hey!
Hilarious.
Who I believe was one of our first guests when we revived the podcast the first time, and here he is again, as we sort of kind of revive the podcast a second time.
Awesome. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Good to have you aboard, Wibbly.
Yeah.
Wibbly, you are working on Darkness from Konosuba, in addition to Megamine is getting updates, right?
Yep. Absolutely. I'm saving the Megaman updates for once I get Darkness fully on her feet, but I'll be updating both of them.
Yes, this dude is a Konosuba super fan. If you can't tell by his Cosmo avatar, that has never changed.
Yeah.
And the passion shows. We'll be having him talk a little bit more in depth about Darkness as a project next time. So to start off the second little mini episode. But for now, we have a whole slate of testing roster characters, brand new additions to the game that we will be discussing in depth, and they warrant a lot of discussion. There's a lot of really interesting projects with a lot of potential that we have lined up today, and maybe even some time for Q&A in the second half. So, nmasp, do you want to go ahead and lead us in?
I do. So first on our roster for today is, I have the channel in the wrong place because I was opening up the recorder. First on the roster today is Dorothy from Valhalla. So Dorothy is written by Napsu with art from Beta 69. Interesting choice for the game. Wibbly, why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts on her, and then I'll go second. Spnanon will close us out, then we'll move on to our next character. Dorothy is currently up for sponsorship, if you are so inclined.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely has a very, always expressive models. I've seen, and on top of that, I've always loved kind of targeting and with dialogue with all of Napsu's stuff. She can be a lot of fun to write with. I think she did a great job with this in general. It was definitely kind of a ambitious kind of choice, and I think that's what Napsu loves to do. So I think she pulled it off really well.
Cool. What do you have for feedback as far as ways to improve the character? What did you like? What didn't you like? Things like that. And we're most interested in your opinion as a guest because we obviously talk about this all the time.
I think that she definitely seems to have that kind of building more into what was touched on briefly in the game with that kind of seedy underbelly of the world, so to speak, which can be interesting for people who are familiar with the series. And she's kind of got that I'm trying to think how to say it, that sass that you wouldn't necessarily kind of expect from a mature woman who's seen the whole world, kind of thing. Imagine kind of almost reminds me of the it's not 100% this, but that one character. I just kind of because she reminds me a lot of when you see a show one of the an older woman who's been in the business, she's kind of got that whole personality going, which is very big contrast to her appearance. I think that was caught really well.
And any suggestions for improvement? And then we'll, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no. For improvement, I'd say overall, I'd say probably I've never been the best at being the most critical or with some of these things. And I think though that if I could think of anything,
Wibbly, you're too nice. I got to give you a crash course in like the bad cop routine.
I know, I'm terrible at that.
Yeah, don't worry. Spnanon will have a chance to back
That's actually
up.
the reason. It's like I wanted to sponsor Dorothy, but I realized I literally like couldn't wrap my brain around what to put down for needs improvement, which was required. So I was.
You could just copy one of the other ones. Just be like,
Yeah.
easy sponsorship, easy life.
That's why I always go last. You know, like I'm the one risking my reputation here. Like the guest only has one chance, so they obviously want to be nice and considerate. nmasp is he's like, oh, it's all good, man.
I'm
Free
easily
love,
pleased. I'm easily pleased.
Oh, I'm an easily pleased person too.
Cool.
So
And I'm just like,
Anyway.
I thought the character fucking sucked.
Yeah, God, get your shit
And I
together.
just go through my laundry list of like, yeah,
you're
All right.
you're the Simon we need.
So I'll go ahead.
yeah, it's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go ahead and go second. I think I think Dorothy is an interesting choice for the game. I think that I think the portrayal of Dorothy in Valhalla is pretty strong, and I think there's a faithful replication of that in the game here today.
We should probably talk about like what kind of character this actually is.
Yeah. So I
It's
guess
it's like a robot prostitute, basically.
yeah, so Dorothy is like a Lilem, which is like a robot, and she's got like she has sentience, and she's a hooker basically. And in the game, she is a hooker with a
Not that you've ever played it.
right. Well, I've played it at this point. She's a hooker with like a very youthful body to appeal to a certain clientele that would be otherwise, very illegal. And I think in SPNatI, she is effectively
Can't do
using
that in SPNatI.
an older. In SPNatI, she's using a frame that is much older, so that there's less concern. It's not much older, is what I'll say, but it is definitely different than the model you'll see in Valhalla. So that's kind of her character in a nutshell. As far as like critical feedback I'd go is, I don't know, like I think Dorothy's fine. I think as far as like improvement would be, it seems like she doesn't interact with streaming chat at all, which I'm assuming is just kind of like an inevitability. I also think the fact that she's at like 1,000 something lines, which is okay, but I'd like to see more targeting and more interactions with her. I think that's what's really like, this is a really interesting character, and I think she has a lot of room and a lot of things to say to a lot of different people. So seeing that kind of outreach to different authors and creators is going to be to the character's benefit. She also has the system where based on the name you use when you pick her, it sets like some RP that's custom to the player, and some of it's pretty naughty, as we say, themed around like the character name choices you're doing. So, for instance, when you use Daddy with Natsuki, Natsuki leaves the game. If you use Daddy with Dorothy, she very much stays, and you kind of experience what you might or might not be looking for depending on your life choices. So
not only does that feel very calculated in order to like gain popularity, but it also totally makes sense.
It makes sense for the character. The character's a prostitute, and she's like, I know what I'm good at, and that's appealing to this target niche. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, Dorothy's got your back.
I completely forgot about the Natsuki thing, and also had no idea about the Dorothy thing with that. That's actually really cool.
I think it's supposed to be.
You've been gone a while, man.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be a bigger feature for her. It's just kind of not there yet. It's sort of like with Streaming Chan. If Streaming Chan released with like 3 interviews instead of like 30. Yeah. So I do think that like before Dorothy is like really ready to be kind of done, she needs like a bunch of these upgrades to go through, which is like, I think she has like 3 of something like 15 planned like names that you can use. Like, so right now, I think the ones that are enabled at the time of this recording are Daddy, Big Brother, and Little Brother. And so I'm looking at the character editors, and the others that are available are like Submissive, Cuck, Chad, Darling, Honey, Master, Mr., Mistress, Big Sister, Stacy, Yandere, which I think you use Senpai for, Stud, and there's some Teacher RP in there too. So I think there's also one for like a food, like a feeding kink or something like that that's in there called Chef. So we'll see what that looks like. I think like she's going to be really robust once those things happen, but it doesn't seem like she's quite there yet. Spnanon, what do you think? And then we're going to have to kind of pick up the pace a little bit, or yeah.
That's, I mean, that's totally good, like porn game material.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
But,
totally
like,
valid. It's just yeah.
how old is she supposed to be in Valhalla?
She's 23 according to the metadata on this character.
No, I mean like the frame that she uses in Valhalla.
I think the frame that she's supposed to be between 10 and 13. Like it's supposed to be represent a human between the ages of 10 and 13, but her brain is like 22.
Okay, I guess that makes sense because I was looking at the GIF and it's like, I mean, she looks young, but she doesn't look like 5.
No. I mean, I think she's supposed to be like a reference to that Nabokov novel, like Lolita. I think that's
Okay, yeah,
kind of the
Lolita. Okay,
reference that's good.
okay.
Yeah, so it's like that age range.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
well. Anyway, it's a shame we have to pick up the pace because I did write a lot of notes for all these
Go ahead.
characters. So everyone else should just shut up and let me talk for the full 5 minutes.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead with Dorothy, and given that Wibbly's our guest, like let's see how far we can go with this first episode, and then we'll jump over to the second episode and pick up there. So we'll let Darkness go at the front of the next episode, then we'll fill in with any other characters we get to.
Let's see. I did think her lines were kind of rambly. I don't know if this must run in like the in the nmasp household. You both kind of have that sort of cadence to your lines where they get a little rambly and it can be hard to follow what they're saying at times.
Huh.
I think overall, okay, big impressions. She's very memey. She's very silly and kind of meta, and she's just like, yeah, this is just a job, but I'm gonna be a professional as soon as you want me to play along. Like we're gonna get this over with, but I'm gonna do my job, basically. So at times it feels kind of insincere, but I guess when you're like
the point.
Yeah, like when you're a hooker, that's kind of the point to an extent, and she does have like the more focused, dirty talk. If you want to do like a fetishy thing. Let's see. Yeah, so like she's all in on the player talk. It's when it's like other people's turns that her lines feel a little phoned in. Like she doesn't seem quite as interested in any of them, which can stand out because it's often not the player's turn. Let's see other things. She acts like a very mature woman. Yeah. Wibbly mentioned that. So the juxtaposition between her still young appearance and her very like mature personality. She's got the mentality of like a hooker in her 40s or 50s or some shit. So it felt like she could be a little hard to engage with because she's just kind of doing her own thing the whole time. But like what she's doing is very good. Only other comment I really have is something I posted in like bug reports is that she tends to like lore dump kind of apropos of nothing, talking about like Glitch City and like what a dump it is. Cause that kind of goes into like the meta stuff of like the dystopia, talking about all the tropes that it has going on. Like that info is good. It just seems like it belongs on like a target instead of like a generic line because it just kind of felt like she was explaining that to nobody.
I feel like as an aside, I think that's like something that is just sort of like this weird thing that happens a lot because it's like, if you don't do, I feel like in some ways, like, I don't know if I ran into this writing sucrose, so this is just kind of fresh in my mind. It's like, if you don't write those things, people are like, you need to explain the lore more. So I think that's just like, it leads to these kind of lazy, like any hand lines of like, let me dump the lore on you. Okay, cool.
I don't feel like you need to explain the lore.
Yeah.
Like the lore is not what makes the character interesting. Like if you want the lore, just Google the franchise and read the Wikipedia article. Like you're there for the person out. Like I mean, when you get to know a person, you start with like their little quirks and like the little things that they talk about and are focused on and interested in. And then over time, you start to fill in the little bits and pieces of the lore and be like, okay, that's why they're like that. You don't start out with the lore. They don't start by telling you their life story.
Right. Fair enough.
I will say, in contrast though, Spnanon, I think it depends on the character she interacts with. It might change with interactions, but she has a lot of interesting dialogue with Darkness right now.
Oh, I didn't play her with Darkness.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Me and Napsu are having a lot of fun with targets right now.
Oh, God. I can imagine those interactions being super degenerate. Are they? Oh, God.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Wouldn't that kind of ruin it for Darkness a little bit if it was just like she was paying for it? Like it wasn't legit?
It depends, and I'll get into that a bit when I'm talking about writing for her. But yeah,
Okay. She's got to feel. She's got to feel the real danger. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Are we
I
moving
think,
on?
yeah, let's do it. So moving on to Chie from Persona 4. Chie is written by Ace Diamond 45 with the artist Bullet Shock. I know Bullet Shock's been in the game before. I'm not sure.
He did Jill.
Bullet Shock did Ace
He also
25.
did. He also did Aloy, who we'll be talking about later.
Got it.
I put Aloy and Chie next to each other, and you could totally tell it was the same artist. They struck the exact
Really?
same pose on a number of occasions.
Got it. Okay. Well, anyway, so Wibbly, what do you think about
Hope you
Chie?
like your meat well done. Nice slabs of steak. She's come to the inventory. She's looking for some beefcakes.
I'm gonna have to pass myself on this one just because, due to life stuff, I didn't get around to getting a chance to test her. But so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm also not very familiar with the series, so I wouldn't be able to add much right this moment.
Well, what would you like to see out of Chie, or like, what are your expectations?
I don't know. From like first appearance, as I said, I'm unfamiliar with the series, but from first appearance, she definitely seems almost like a mix between like kind of tomboy, almost childhood friend, peppy, kind of sporty person, almost. But that's just 100% from appearances.
Got it. Well, yeah. Okay. As far as I go, yeah. So let me go through it. I guess. I think Chie is, as someone who didn't play Persona 4 but played like the living shit out of Persona 5. She's very much like a female Ryuji in a lot of ways, and she's kind of like I'm going to open up with like the problems I have with Chie first, because I think that's just like the best way to contextualize this is her face doesn't really change that much, and I think that's something that just makes it very difficult to focus on her dialogue.
I think the problems that like she has are pretty objective, so I think we're going to agree a lot on these.
Probably. I think like the model is cute. I think that there's probably ways to tweak it a little bit. Like I think like the direction is good. I think there's just work to be done as far as posing. Like the posing is not that dynamic. I think the expressions are pretty locked in. The face is good. Like the face is good. It's just very static. I disagree with the decision to make her shaved. I don't think that's quite the right fit for this particular character. But so to kind of go through the things I like about Chie. I like the direction she's going. I like the tomboy fightery, kind of like scrapper type with like things to say and beliefs, but she does come across as like pretty flat. I think like you have to use your character's points of interest as a way to like engage with other people at the table, whether that's through filtered lines or through targets. And I think she just doesn't really do that. Like what is like her emotions to things are just kind of like they're very one note, and I think there could be room for more subtlety and more like room to develop those, especially like getting some good target interactions going. In some ways, it's like this is tough because if you want to do like Persona themed ones, you can't really compare and contrast like the way Persona 4 and Persona 5 treat their personas, because you're I don't mean this in a harsh way if you're listening to this, if I may, but like if I may is writing all the Persona 5 characters, and it's just really hard to get his attention considering how much is going on. I would say as far as like directions to go is like I don't think she's like bad. I just think she's kind of like directionless. She just feels very like she's very much a first attempt. That's fine. But I think it's like my advice to the writer is if you focus on what do you like about this character? And then how does that juxtapose against the other characters in the game? You'll be going in the right direction. So for instance, like Chie, I'm going to use my characters because I'm a feckless shill or like a whatever shill. You can use like Marinette, for instance, as like, okay, they're both like leggy people that fight people. Okay, that's something to talk about, but then like they're different because their sense of style is different. Or like, do you like kung fu movies? Marinette's like part Chinese. So there's like something to that. Or you can talk to like Leon about what's it like to be a cop, why do that, etc. Sucrose is like an alchemist. What's it like to be kind of weird and awkward? Things like that, right? Like that doesn't have to be the substance exactly, but I think you have to like because Chie is kind of forward in that way. I think engaging with other people is the way you build out her character too. So anyway, that's kind of my feedback for Chie. I think there's like artwork updates, and she's just got a ways to go as far as like content. But I think like what's here is not bad. I just think there's room to improve it and grow it.
We have like every main Persona 5 character, or almost all of them. And the other Persona games seem to have completely fallen by the wayside. I guess. Well, I mean, when the Persona 5 craze began, it's sort of become a time capsule of its popularity. Right. You know, like Futaba was made, I think, first, like right after, or pretty close after the game came out.
Anne was made, then Futaba was made. Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much.
So, Persona 4 and 3 and all the other games, like there have been a lot of character ideas, but I don't think any of them ever made it into the game. So Chie's at least got that going for her. She made it. But she does have a lot of problems, a lot of rookie mistakes. I mean, art-wise, that's the first thing you notice, and the first thing I wrote down was trying to eat her nose.
Oh.
Which you can see even in this pose. Her mouth is just way too close to her nose.
Oh, I thought you meant like literally there was like, oh, hey, look, I can eat my nose.
No.
Okay.
She's slowly consuming it.
Yeah.
Like, it's 1-to-1, sort of, but something just didn't translate where I guess like the facial proportions just aren't quite right. So even though the style is kind of there, the proportions just aren't. And it really limits the posing. Because you were talking about before, she's not very dynamic. Her eyes never change. Like, she's almost always looking forward. And even then, like, not quite completely 100% ahead. She's a little bit off to the side. Let's see. She's, writing-wise, she's very bland. She's got, like, a big show, or, tell, don't show problem. She's got a big I guess problem where it just feels like the writer wasn't quite sure what to say. There's a lot of name dropping where it's like, I don't really know who this character is. Again, it's like the lore where that's, your friends are not the most interesting thing about the character. The most interesting thing about the character is the character. This like sporty, tomboyish sort of girl who has her interests, but there's also some stuff there about how like she doesn't want to feel like it means she has to completely sacrifice all her femininity, or she doesn't like how people consider her like less of a woman for it. Like, that's really interesting, and it's actually something that like Maya's kind of got going on too to some extent. Where she's kind of like, because of the way she is, she's kind of like pigeonholed into that certain stereotype of like a tomboyish or masculine sort of girl. Their culture's analog to that, so like that would be really neat to engage with if you just went more in that direction. Now, I'll be the first to say that like I love when a tomboy gets a little embarrassed and a little indignant, trying to maintain that assertiveness. At the same time, though, I do feel like she kind of goes a little bit too far in the embarrassment, because it was to the point where she seemed kind of childish with like sex and nudity reveals, and that's what you can't do. Where she almost it's tough to remember a specific line, but that's just the impression. Like she didn't even really like know what a man's penis was like.
You can say penis.
Or like what a man's masturbation was like. Yeah, like she seemed like clueless about it in a way that like a little too innocent. So, I mean, you can be embarrassed, but you should have like some adult understanding of that.
That makes sense.
There's repeats and stuff. A lot of the I guess problem can often come down to being a little too competitive with the game and focusing a little bit too much on winning and losing. She had some of that. The other thing but if you're going to go into competitiveness, I think you need to be like pretty aware of what's going on. So, and add some like conditions so you can add a little more flavor to it. Don't just be like, yeah, it's your turn. Be like, wow, you really saved me from losing that round. Because, like I had a bad hand, but you had a worse hand. And like start there and like make it more interesting from there. It's hard to come up with a good good flavor for that. But you know what I mean? Like you gotta start with those conditions and take it a little bit away from the game and more into the personality.
Yeah.
But she's got a lot of overhauls coming up. They've been getting a lot of advice.
Good. Cool. Okay, so looking forward to next time Chie is on the cast, and is doubtless going to be much improved. So we're going to move on to Aloy next. After that, we're going to cut to the next episode, after which we'll start with Darkness as Wibbly as our guest, and then we'll hop back to Nagatoro. So Aloy is next from Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon...
Is it Aloy? I thought it was Alloy.
I think it's Aloy.
I have no idea.
Cool. So Aloy, Aloy.
I mean, there's a pronunciation guide in the character editor. Does anyone have the character editor open?
No, it's open. She has no pronunciation guide.
What the fuck, Alias? Come on.
All right.
The most important part.
So Aloy is from the Horizon series, written by This Is My Sin alias, who's written many of my very much enjoyed characters in this game. Bullet Shock is a contributing writer and also the artist, same one as Chie. So, Wibbly, what do you think about Aloy or Alloy?
So definitely, first off, I'd say the clothing is beautifully made on her model, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
As someone who even in real life finds clothes to be challenging, like imagining putting something like that together in Kisekai blows my mind. But it's really well made, and I think that, that's definitely my first impression when you see her. And it's definitely got that interesting aesthetic that seems to blend a little bit of, like, facially, a bit of that mix between Western and Eastern styles for, like, faces. It kind of is a little less heavy on kind of like the anime side, so to speak. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not familiar with the source material. I don't know if it is an anime, but at least, I get that impression.
No, it's like a 3D game. I think it's a Western game.
Yeah.
Hold on, I bet I could find a GIF of her.
But yeah, no, so I think, and sometimes that can be really hard to do in Kisekai because, it's built more for that kind of anime aesthetic. And so I think they did a really great job of that. I'd say definitely things that I think some people, I mean, we've talked about this a bit so far, but I can give a little bit of elaboration on suggestions with. But it kind of falls into the thing where it's like kind of almost overly explaining her kind of background and everything to a degree. But I think once again, like, overall, in the end, you do you. This is just my personal opinion on some things, but I was going to say, I find it, like, the best when people almost kind of, like, the backstory is, like, learned and earned through, like, interactions, and it kind of gives you reason to keep playing them as you kind of learn more about them, gives a bit more variety and whatnot, and it's, and one of the things you want to almost, like, I feel like, focus on is less like why them comparing their background to the world. You can do that a little bit. I do that. Like, everyone does that to a degree. But also, you want to have just their personality, how their background shaped the character, and how that character reacts based on that to the situation, rather than direct comparison, like as super often. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's like in this weird post-apocalyptic world that's like overtaken by machines, but it's kind of like a hunter-gatherer. It's sort of like this anarcho-futurist or something. Like, that's really neat, and I think, like, there's a ton of, like, unique conversation and, like, cultural dynamics that you could explore there, but you really have to nail down and decide, like, what are her opinions on, like, sexuality and all these things, if she's, like, from a hunter gatherer society with, like, all this mysticism but also machines and shit, because you think it'd be a lot different from, like, a contemporary one.
So it's like, rather than focus on the background, focusing on the character and, like, how that background influenced them, and then the background leaks through at the same time as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. I think it's overall so far looks really promising.
nmasp?
Yeah. I think for me, it's I really enjoyed the character. I think there's definitely a lot of room to grow the dialogue. I think the criticisms that Wibbly had are pretty accurate. But I think this like kind of like I'm competent but a little blasé adventurer style is not super well explored. I think the art is phenomenal. I think the personality is definitely going to take advantage of kind of ongoing writing. I think the biggest thing with like Aloy is just she's really cool. She's badass. I like the way she portrays herself. It would just be interesting to see her kind of grow these interactions a little bit more, which is the sign that you're going in the right direction. Like Alias has done a fuckload of content right now. I think her generics are good, but it's really seeing some like high impact interactions with other characters. Like I'd love to see how she interacts with like Maya, for instance, as I'm not really super familiar with Zero Dawn, but I think they could have a lot to discuss. And
it's funny because I need to continue the interaction, but Maya actually has a pretty unique reaction to her because the whole like Vandred is like set in a future where like they've colonized the galaxy, but Earth is kind of fucked,
right?
And like overrun with like
horrors.
Like nobody can like reproduce anymore, and like they're just kind of like overtaken by like machinery and like desperate attempts to like cloning and stuff, and all like automatic fleets. And she's just Maya's always talked about like the Earth that I know, this is a different one. This is in the past, and she looks at Aloy. She's like, Are you fucking from my Earth? Like,
yeah.
Are you like a person that's living there in that hellhole?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the extent of my take on her. Like, I wish there was more like critical feedback on like you could do this better. You could just do this like different. But I actually don't remember the last time she got like a concrete like update, and I don't have like a ton of like, oh man, like these are things I definitely need to see for her to be good. I think she's fine. I just think that she's got like just more conversations to have and
room to grow.
Yeah, I think the other thing is like it's not super clear to me like is she experienced like because so for instance like when she's talking about like a dude masturbating, she's got like two different blocks dialogue, and there's not really a whole lot that she says during that phase. I think like it's too much like she's a lot for when she's not masturbating, then very little when she is. I can see there being more dialogue there that would be really good to like explore. Like what is her sexuality when she's alone, and then like how does that juxtapose with everyone else in the game? I suppose because it's like I think like she targets like for instance, and yeah, like I like that's all I'm saying is like I think she just needs to interact with some more characters and have some more like this is just general advice to everyone. I would love to see more characters that have like sexual thoughts about that are specific to other characters. Like what is this character's type? What is she here for? Because she's not here just to jerk off, right?
Absolutely.
Like that is some feedback. Is like what characters is your character sexually attracted to, and then write them trying to hit on that type of character. Like that is what is going to make.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
That is exactly what like if you're not sure what you're doing, like do that. Like I think like Chie doesn't do this, Dorothy does this, Nagatoro does this with the player. Eichi does this, and Darkness does this as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that. But I know Alias is a really good writer, and Bullet Shock I think is definitely learning the ropes too. So we'll see what happens next. Over to you, Spnanon.
I wrote a ton of stuff for Aloy and sent a bunch of feedback reports, and unfortunately, it seems like Alias is a little frustrated with this project right now. He didn't take it so well. And he just seems like not sure what to do. And that was the overall impression that I got. It was that the writing just seemed kind of confused. He didn't seem like he knew what to write for her, like what he wanted to write, Like he kind of has like the idea of like the character, like the stoic, pretty, like hyper competent kind of loner type of character who's like awkward in a social situation and got like a hero complex, but yeah, like it's the sexuality. Like, SPNatI is a porn game. It's not a porn parody. You got the characters, but they are in an intensely sexual social situation, and this is kind of the problem that a lot of characters have, where they're like kind of like mild mannered and polite and competent. But that's because they spend all their time on screen like fighting and adventuring and being badass, and she's doing none of those things here. And you got to ask yourself, what is she like when she's not doing that and can't express herself in that way? Because that's you got to talk about a guy's dick and balls. What does she want to see? Like that is probably the most important thing you have to nail down before you even start writing a character. Is like, how does she want to fuck? Who does she want to fuck?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
What is going on underneath her pantaloons and her animal pelts and her machine cyborg parts? What is going on down there? Because everything else kind of falls out from that. Yes, you're socializing, you're talking about your lore, but the lore is, again, it's not what's important. Your friends aren't what's important. It's, you being a hero isn't what's important. It's how do you want to fuck? It's how does your life situation and your personality and inform that, and everything else falls out from that. I mean, you're going to have to talk about some double D titty drops at some point, and you better have something to say about that. Otherwise, they're just going to be sitting there the whole game, and you as a writer, they're just going to... I mean, she's literally got a line that's like, I don't know what to say here, and it's like, it kind of feels like the writer didn't know what to say here. I don't blame him. It's not easy to write a stoic character, I would know. But that's what you got to dig into and find out, like, what is her cultural stance on, like, womanhood and, like, being in this situation, and, like, what does she want? What are her expectations?
Yeah, it can definitely be a challenge, but it's definitely important to kind of get into that mental headspace of the character.
Yeah, and it just seems like he just wasn't sure where he wanted to go, and I think once he makes that decision, he's fully capable of realizing it, but he just wasn't sure what to do. Like, there are a lot of little things I could talk about, like the posing. Like, I thought she was really, like, cute, and she's got, like, more of a beautiful face than a cute face, which works for for this type of character. But the posing seems kind of like a flighty schoolgirl type. Kind of like gestures with her hands a lot. She's not very, like, dignified. Let's see some other stuff. Her nose is like, her nose kind of disappears when she blushes too much. I think you could have some more, like, bolder lines on her nose. That's a minor point, but I think more characters should have, like, bolder lines on their models.
It could even just be slightly bolder during the blushing things, just to contrast it, as long as it's not, like, too jarring.
Yeah, like, readability is just the most important thing on, like, a pose by pose basis. Like, I think he said that he got inspiration from, like, Maya's lines, and I wonder if he got inspiration from, like, her old bad lines. It's like there's a lot of, like, stuff that's a little bit too wordy for, like, a stoic, dignified type, where she's got a big, like, tell don't show sort of problem. It's there in the lore dumps, and it's also with, like, when she's trying to get into it, she says stuff like, "Oh, you know what? I'll admit it. You caught my interest." And it's like, if you're gonna be stoic, if you're gonna be direct, you got to be, like, direct. Don't be like, "You know what? You've caught my eye, player." You got to be like, "I want to fuck you." Like, that stands out. Like, that is, like, this character's got something interesting going on. I don't know if she'd really talk like that, but, like, those are the kind of decisions you have to make. It's like what I complained about with Tyrandot last time. It's like, even though Tyrandot has, like, a super witty and understandable and, like personality, the world around her and, like, how it's informed all her views on sexuality, they're not all 100% clear, and they need to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Those are my biggest criticisms of Aloy. But I am, like, super interested in what this character could be, and I really want to see it come to fruition. So I hope Alias doesn't get too discouraged.
Oh yeah, no. One thing is, when I see you, like, get in that much in depth on something with critical stuff, it's generally because like you want to see, like, you have a more of a impression of, like, the possibilities with the character more than, like, anything.
I fucking care, goddammit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I was promised a stoic girl, and I'm gonna fucking get it. Don't give up, goddammit.
So, just to keep track of time, we are pretty over right now.
Yeah. Let's finish things off with what everybody's been waiting for, which is a male character.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, so Eichi, from everyone's favorite show, Ensemble Stars. Eichi was written and drawn by Death Respect, who is apparently a new artist and contributor, but I have some suspicions that this is not the case. But yeah, what a good first character, if so. Anyway, so over to Wibbly. What do you think about Eichi?
Wait, did you say from Ensemble Stars?
From Ensemble Stars.
Oh, I thought it was from Comey.
No, he's from a different. He's from Ensemble Stars.
Which fucking Comey.
Got the character completely confused in my head. I don't know why. Okay, never mind. But
no, not from Comey-san.
God, I don't know how I made
fucking
that.
Eichi from Comey-san.
It looks completely different, but now that you say that, like, I don't know why. Sorry. Anyway, a bit of mental fog there for a second, but.
Hey, did you not get enough of Anatoly and the sweet, cute boy who gets horrifically fucking mutilated and disfigured by his friends and his source material? Would you like to play that, but in an idle gacha game?
Oh, sounds wonderful.
Because that's what Eichi is, apparently.
Is he? Is it like that? Because I did not get
This is another fucking like DDLC, like, oh, gotcha. It's
Yeah.
you go on a ruse cruise where you think it's just gonna be like generic idle fare, and it turns out he's a fucking war criminal.
Oh, well, I just
and
think.
gets like gutted like a fish or some shit.
Oh no, that's horrible. I think Natsuki wants to bang him really bad, so I'm very interested to see where this
I
goes.
would imagine Natsuki wants to bang him really bad. Maybe they get like trapped on a shipwreck on their way to like Korea,
Depression land.
and then just, they all eat each other.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, onto Depression Korea. So speaking of Depression Korea,
Yeah.
what do you think about Eichi?
I don't know what happened, but apparently it's some bad shit.
Like the thing is, like, I don't know these things, that I just play the character just as they are, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, it's all secretly super dark, and I'm just like, I don't need that.
I didn't know that either, and then the creator just threw it out there.
Oh.
It was just an idle game. No, he's like this. He's like this Machiavellian like character.
I like the kind of like, I guess, at least I don't know if this is 100% just like interactions with darkness, but like I've got a really heavy impression of him being very kind of trolly, kind of like really likes fucking with people a little bit, but I don't know if that's just with darkness or not. That's a lot of my frame of reference with him currently.
I can assure you, if you watch Vandred featuring Maya Gisborne, it is in fact the action mecha action space harem comedy that it claims to be. There's no scene where she's like chopped up and becomes Maya Stew for all the other characters who were marooned on a fucking meteor.
Is he kind of like a trolly character in general? Like not like a joker. I mean, more like in his personality. Is he kind of liking to fuck with people, kind of aloof a bit, or am I getting the wrong impression from? I just want to check that first.
I think that's the idea.
Okay, cool. So
and it's captured well.
Yeah, I definitely, from like everything I've seen, I like that a lot because I always, I like comedy with like this kind of stuff. I don't know why. It's just it makes it fun for me, and so I like, I like seeing characters that like, or he's like a good character for setting up really interesting situations or dialogue or targets with people that could be fun, like throwing a wrench in like the usual banter that a character has, and I think that's always a lot of fun. So from what I've seen so far, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I really like Eichi. I didn't know that there was like a fucked up backstory associated with it, but okay, that's at this point that's honestly on me. That's on me for not knowing better. But
I mean, fool me once with DDLC, fool me twice with Cooking Companions, fool me three times.
Cooking Companions was like, Callie made this character. What's the fucked up secret here? Like, Callie, I have you dead to rights. Any character you make up, like, what's the fucked up secret, Callie? And you're gonna be like, it was people in the stew. But this guy, like, I don't know this person. This could be like, just some like idle pretty boy, which is an archetype we don't have in SPNatI, which I was like really excited about. But it's just like, oh yeah, it's also like secret fucked up things. I'm like, god damn it. But anyway, no, I really like Eichi. I think he's like a tremendously good first character. I think the art is really good. The person has a really solid understanding of how to use like bats on the hairs. The expressions are good. The posing is strong. He responds to a lot of characters. He has a lot of really good interactions. I look forward to targeting more with Natsuki. I think that's really exciting. So it's like everyone's like, oh, nmasp doesn't like targeting male characters. Like, no, I do like targeting male characters. I just like there to be context for how I'm doing it. In this case, it's super easy. And
I wonder if he's gonna like muscle in Adrian's niche.
I don't care. That's awesome. Do it. Like, I think dude, I should target the shit out of him with Adrian. That sounds fun as fuck. But anyway, yeah, he's great. Like, I love Eichi. I'm super jazzed on him.
They're gonna have to play pitcher or catcher.
I mean, yeah, actually, that's a good question. Which one's the bottom? I think Eichi is more of the bottom, but he has the bigger dick. So if they sword fight, Adrian loses. Okay,
that's true. This dude is like supposed to be like really slim and like kind of slight and like wasting away, and like he's got like progeria or some shit. Like,
and then he has like his ginormous cock.
Yeah, he's got like cancer or some shit. He's gonna die soon. That's another thing.
The cancer's in his dick apparently because it's fucking huge. Like, I actually I normally don't like that where it's like, oh,
it gives him his like handsome boyish K-pop features, but also
just fucking ginormous dragon slayer cock. Like, dude,
this dude has a con build, and all the con went into his dick.
This dude is cock. Yeah, dude, I'm so here for Eichi and his enormous cock. This is great. Things taken out of context, or even with context. No, but like I think I cannot like stop. The rest of
him, like getting going like full mast should just cause his knees to buckle.
Okay. So anyway, here's the thing. I guess it's just like Eichi's really good. I think the fact that it's just like death respects. Like, if this is really your first character and you're not just like someone like wearing a fucking mask, like, and that you're gonna pull it off, and it was me, Alpha Man, like the whole time, like. Excellent job, dude. I'm super impressed. Keep it up and keep engaging with the community. I think Eichi has a really strong possibility to do super well. Please like target other characters and get some good dialogue going. I know like you have, but just keep interacting that way. And I think Eichi is going to be really impressive. Like, this is one of those characters that just comes out and it's just like, especially for a first attempt, like, excellent job. I think he's great. Keep it up. Do not let him fall offline. Please, for love of fuck. Like, get this boy sponsorship into the main roster. Slam dunk. 9 out of 10. Good job. Keep writing. All right, Spnanon.
The first thing I wrote for Eichi was male gremlin? Question mark. We've had so many gremlins. We've got Hu Tao. I'm sure there's some other Nagatoro. We got all these gremlins.
Oh wow, yeah. Hu Tao and Eichi like trying to out troll each other, and like Eichi being like, I'm literally dying, and Hu Tao being like, lol, lamau. It's just like that's fucking gold, dude. I think having the two of them in the game just like trying to outbully each other is
dude, that's the interaction right there. It's like I'm dying every day, Hu Tao. I'm close to death. It's like, well, I'll bury you, bitch.
Oh my god, this is just God, why is this scary? He's so good. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. Male gremlin.
The dead will rest. Yeah, but he's like the ultra rare gacha pull male gremlin who like just like trolls the fuck out of people. Which is interesting, and it's a unique niche. He's kind of like jokey and fun and always making fun of people and teasing them. He's got that arm's length thing going on, which is kind of like what I said about Sly, where kind of feels like he's always a little bit. He's got a degree of separation from everybody else, where he's just kind of like joking around with them, and he doesn't want to get too invested. But as far as the entertainment value, it's definitely there. And he's got like really good like horny expressiveness like to his poses. Like he like breathes out like little steam clouds and stuff. So it's not like he doesn't get into it at all. He had a lot of like clothes talk, especially in like Targets, which I guess makes sense because he's like an idol and he's got to be up on the fashion. But it was a little bland. I think you could get more into like the really nitty gritty of like fashion tips. I don't know, maybe Death Respect should like read up on like super specific like idol fashion terms or something. It's just got to be good enough that like the unfamiliar character could just be like, oh yeah, the inseam, totally. I know what you're talking about. It's
I feel like Marinette should be this character,
it's the Hajite style. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I feel like Marinette and Adrian probably should be these characters, but like I no one's called my bluff on it yet, so I guess like again, like Eichi is just like a fucking like house Tovel grenade being like, deal with this fucking boy gremlin idol. So, yeah.
One extra thing I have to add. Am I the only one who sees this where his pants look kind of transparent?
I mean, that's because the pipeline, right?
I would have never noticed unless you said that. So
Doesn't
thank
it?
you.
It looks like he's fading away back to the future style as we speak. He can't even like maintain a physical form. It's all just in his cock.
It's something I feel like it's kind of, for me, it feels like it's kind of the yellow or blue dress thing where it's like,
No.
yeah, it's like I can kind of see it now that you say it, but not 100%. Like I still see the pants at the same time.
I think it's because like it's a pipeline and it's good, but it's because it's like perfectly straight lines as a pattern applied to like his legs
sense.
that are moving around, and they don't like move with his legs. So it looks like there's something behind him that's like projecting through.
Kind of like Chowder animation style.
Okay, so I'll have to take your word on that.
God, I hate how. Yeah, okay.
Oh fuck.
You got that one, nmasp?
What's up? Yeah, I understood that.
Okay, cool.
You know, you are my clone after all.
Yeah, fair.
Oh fuck! Just like make some shit up about like idols. Nobody would know anyway.
Yeah, like on I think Napsu would know. Napsu would like fucking come down on that like a lead hammer.
Yes, I found it. I spent like half an hour or like an hour reading like the TV tropes article on some like random Japanese theater shit that I just found like the Takarazuka Review, which is like an all women Japanese musical that's been around for like a century. It's like its own like academy for it, and like all these specific like roles that only they can play, and like they play the men and the women and shit. Like that's like the deep dive you got to do into that culture, so he can just like sound really like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so it sounds like anything else Spnanon, but anyway,
Yes.
Eichi's really good. Like I just keep developing him. I think like I probably should target him a whole bunch with Adrian and Marinette, and I will get there eventually, but Natsuki and Eichi makes sense. Wow, you really got like 3 of my 5 characters just like fucking on it, and then go troll Hutao. Like please, like Eichi trolling Hutao is just the funniest thing in the fucking universe. So anyway. Okay, with that, thank you for coming to episode 62. We'll be back, you'll see us
62.5.
62.5. Let's take a short break.
Returning guest Wibbly.
All right.
So
and it'll finally be relevant as to why he's on. I mean, we do value his opinion, but it's specifically to talk about darkness.
Yeah.
Cool. So, all right, this episode, cutting. Okay, so let's take like a 5-minute break. When we come back, we'll do darkness. We'll try and hit Nagatoro if we can. Otherwise, we'll talk
to 39 after.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Both their microphones are muted right now, so I have a quick announcement to make. I fucking love Maya.
Oh, really? I would have never guessed.